Hello, welcome to today's webinar, NIH Public Access Policy and What You Need to Know. Thank you for joining us for the next 1.5 hours. My name is Cynthia Dwyer and I'm in the Office of Extramural's Research Office, the Communication and Outreach Office. I will be facilitating today's meeting along with my co-partner, Chuck Selden, who is the Extramural Staff Training Officer for NIH. Today you will be hearing us quite a lot, but you won't be able to see us since there's not a camera operating with this webinar. So what I'd like to do right now is introduce you to our presenters. First is Neil Thacker, Program Manager for the Public Access Policy in the Office of Extramural Research. Scarlett Gibb, Customer Service Relationship Manager for the ERA Commons in the ERA office. Bart Trawick, Literature Resources Lead at NCBI, the National Center for Biotechnology Information. Before we begin our webinar, I just want to go over a couple logistics, and that has to do with questions. We do have a limited time today scheduled for questions, but there will be some select times for those pauses. If your questions are, if you have a question that you would like to address, you can type it into the chat box. If you have any questions that are not answered following this webinar, you can email them separately to publicaccess@nih.gov. This webinar will be recorded, and in the next 3 to 5 days you will be able to find that recording on the Extramural staff intranet, and we will post that URL into that chat box during the seminar if you want to write that information down or take note of it. So let's get on with the show, and this is Neil Thacker.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us to talk about public access. Just to add on Cynthia's comments, what I'm hoping we can do with this presentation is post not only the full webinar on the public access page under NIH staff only resources, the resources for extramural staff, but I'm hoping we can cut down sections of this into chapters, so if you need a reference you can go to the appropriate section rather than fast forwarding through the whole webinar. What we're going to be talking about today are a reminder of what the basics of the public access policy is, what we ask awardees to do, what's changing, give you an update on MyNCBI, and just what you need to know as staff to help PIs orient themselves. What you're going to be doing under the new changes to the public access policy, and then how to implement that using the program module, the RPPR, and so forth, and then how we can support awardees as we implement this change. And then we'll have some time for questions. So to go over the basics, I'm going to talk to you about the policy and what the policy means. So the policy comes to us, the public access policy comes to us through a provision in our funding, in our appropriation, which means that we cannot spend any money on anything unless we implement this provision. And the specific wording of the law is very directive. It tells us that people are to submit final peer-reviewed manuscripts, that they're to be submitted upon acceptance for publication, that they're to be made public no later than 12 months after the official date of publication, and that they're to be made public on PubMed Central. So there's some definitions in here, and Bart, I'm wondering if you could explain to us what some of these terms are.
Sorry for the delay there. There is a difference between PubMed and PubMed Central. It's often confused by the public at large. And the difference is that PubMed is a database of abstracts. It doesn't contain the full text. The full text is archived in the PubMed Central repository. So if a scientist wonders why they have to comply because their article is in PubMed, you need to probe further and make sure that its full text is archived in PubMed Central. There's also a difference in what types of articles are archived. We have two different types. a full peer-reviewed manuscript that's been accepted for publication is fully acceptable to comply with the public access policy. This is the version that has gone through peer review. The authors have also addressed any modifications that have resulted from the peer review process and has been accepted by the publisher for publication in the peer review journal. This version can be submitted through the manuscript submission process and prepared and archived in PubMed Central. There's another type of full published article. These are typically submitted directly to PubMed Central by participating journals, and they fully comply with the public access policy.
Oh, thank you, Bart.